Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfic. This will be the continuation of Fall Apart, Collect the Pieces. This will be the final part, Chapter 33. Izuku could see the tension in Katsuki's shoulders as they walked his parents to the door later that night. It hadn't gone away since Masaru's slip-up. He wondered if he should bring it up at all, but his curiosity was eating at him. They washed and dried the dishes, moving in quiet harmony. Izuku wasn't sure how to bring it up, especially since Kachan seemed to be relaxing. He didn't want to break that comfort. "How did the reviews go?" Katsuki asked abruptly. "I just realized I didn't—" "Are you kidding?" Izuku interrupted. Katsuki fell silent, looking at him with wide eyes. "We can talk about that if you really want to, but are you really going to pretend I didn't hear what your parents said?" Katsuki sighed, clenching his jaw again as he closed his eyes in frustration. "Seriously, they were exaggerating. Besides, most of the shit I send to them is crap for the house, like the armchair." "You inspected an armchair before bringing it home?" Izuku asked, incredulous. Fascinatingly, Kachan's face went pink. He averted his eyes, jaw clenching and unclenching. Izuku watched the movement, knowing that Katsuki was making up his mind, and he needed to entertain himself in the meantime. His jawline was very entertaining. "Fine," he grumbled, tossing the dish towel aside. "I've been looking for your shit. It's not a big deal." Izuku squinted at him. "If it's not a big deal, why would you keep it from me? Why would you keep it from me at all?" "I was trying to do something nice without you making a big fucking deal about it because you make shit a big deal," Katsuki huffed. "It's a big deal to me, Kachan. It's a huge deal. It sounds like you found a bunch of my stuff. It means a lot to me." "It's not just me, nerd. I had help," Katsuki griped. Skirting Izuku to attempt an escape into the living room, Izuku followed him, because that was not a good enough explanation. "Our idiot friends have been helping." "Helping how?" he demanded. Katsuki threw his hands up, frustrated. "I don't fucking know. By helping, finding shit, or negotiating with sellers after I found shit. Just helping." Wheels spun faster in Izuku's head, pieces clicking together. Why would he be so evasive about this? Why was he being so weird? There was an alarm bell going off in the back of his head, and Ochako's words rang in his head. "Enabling him won't make him love you, Bakugo." "How much of it did you find, Kachan?" he asked. Katsuki scoffed. "Why the fuck does that matter?" He wouldn't look Izuku in the eye. Katsuki, by nature, was audacious. There was almost nothing the man would hide from, so refusing to meet his gaze was a flashing neon sign that he was hiding something. "It matters," he snapped. Katsuki's head snapped up to look at him, eyebrows raised. "It matters to me because you're doing something nice for me and you're being weird about it." "It's not about me," Katsuki huffed. "It was about fixing what that bitch broke." "So it is about what she said," he declared triumphantly. "The day she left, that thing she said." "She didn't know what she was talking about. Fuck off with that shit," he said, trying to skirt Izuku. He stepped into the blonde's path. "Fuck, what do you want?" "Tell me!" Katsuki shut his eyes, sighing in frustration. His fists were clenched by his sides. Fine. I found almost all of it. I had the idiots deliver it for me, so that you wouldn't do this shit and make it about me." "Jesus, Kachan, what do you have against gratitude?" he cried. "Why is it wrong for me to be grateful for what you do for me?" "Because I wanted you to focus on yourself for once," Katsuki bellowed. Izuku's heart twisted in his chest, stomach in freefall. "You're always taking care of other people. You never take yourself into account. And for once, I wanted you to focus on yourself, to realize that people care about you for you, not because of your influence or the shit you do for them. That we all fucking want you to be happy." Izuku's eyes were filled with tears, touched and irritated as fuck. "I would have felt that even if you'd given it to me yourself," he said. "You didn't have to jump through all these fucking hoops to hide it from me, so why did you?" Katsuki ran a hand down his face. "Why won't you let it go?" "It is about what she said, isn't it?" he asked. Jaw clenching, Katsuki gave a jerky nod. "I didn't want you to think it was a romantic gesture or something. After what she said, I mean. I didn't want you to paint it with that brush. It was just about helping you heal and giving you what you deserve, Deku. I fucking swear." There was a desperate note to his voice, like he was begging Izuku to believe him. It rubbed Izuku the wrong way. Katsuki always said what he meant, so why would he try to convince him? "So, you don't love me?" he asked before his brain caught up to his big fat mouth. His stomach dropped when he realized what he'd asked. He scrambled for the words to backtrack, but then he caught the stricken look on Katsuki's face. Something hopeful fluttered in his chest. "Deku." "Because everything you just said, everything you do for me, it feels like love to me," he interrupted. Katsuki's face went red, and his heart raced, somewhere between panic and realization. "I mean, you make sure I eat lunch every day, And you're with me for all my legal meetings, and you fight people who talk shit about me, and... Deku. You stood by me, even when it looked like it would mean we'd both be finished as heroes, he continued. And you hunted down half of my collection without asking for any of the credit for it, just to make me happy. That sounds like love to me, Kachan. Do you love me? Katsuki swallowed, eyes starting to the door, then the window, searching for an escape. Unfortunately for him, Izuku had perfected the art of Kachikachan, so any escape would be short-lived. It's not about that, Deku, Katsuki snapped. It's about you. It doesn't fucking matter why I did it. What matters is that you feel whole again. Don't you get it? Of course I fucking get it, Deku yelled back. You are what makes me feel whole. God damn it, you should feel whole on your own. You shouldn't need me. Izuku scoffed. I've always needed you. You've always been there. So what should I do? Leave? I never want you to leave me, Izuku cried. Katsuki fell silent, breathing like he'd run a marathon, and focused on Izuku so intently that he could feel his stare in his bloodstream. I have felt more content and happy in the last 6 months than I have in my entire life, Kachan. I feel more at home and more love than I've ever felt. It's because you're here. I'm healed. I'm whole, and... He swallowed, bracing himself. And I love you. Do you love me? Katsuki stared at him, looking like he wanted to run. He was so still that if Izuku didn't know better, he'd say he'd turned to stone. His voice was so quiet that Izuku wasn't even sure he'd spoken. You love me? He asked, incredulous. Izuku laughed helplessly. Since we were 4, and you kissed the scrape on my knee because that's what Auntie did for you when you were hurt, he said around the lump in his throat. And again, when we were 10, and you gave me that first edition comic book for my birthday, even though you didn't tell me it was from you. And that night in Ground Beta, when All Might said that we were 2 halves of a whole. And when those civilians tore me apart, and you found me, and again, I'll always fall back in love with you, Kachan. Do you love me? Katsuki swallowed. Eyes fixed on Izuku's face, Izuku felt his courage wavering in the face of it, unsure of the shell-shocked look on his face. He was only encouraged by his blush. His knees went shaky when Katsuki answered. So much that it fucking hurts. Izuku swallowed. Hurts? Katsuki gave him a tight smile. When you're hurt, and I can't help, it hurts. When you smile and I can't kiss you. When you look at me like I'm everything. When you lean against me on the couch. When you come into the kitchen every fucking morning with your hair all fucked up and your eyes still shut. When you take pictures with kids on patrol. When you hold up buildings with your bare hands. Everything you do makes my stupid-ass heart feel like it's tearing itself to shreds. When you fell in love with someone else and I wanted what's best for you, that hurt like a motherfucker. And when she broke your trust, when she hurt you and all I could do was try to hold you together, that hurt even fucking worse. He didn't know when he'd started crying. I never meant to hurt you, he uttered. Of course you didn't, Katsuki scoffed. You wouldn't hurt me even if it meant your own goddamn life, not on purpose. All that shit is self-inflicted. If I'd had the balls to say something, I could have avoided all of it. So why didn't you? He asked. The look Kachan gave him was pained this time, and Izuku wanted to kiss it off his face. I've never deserved you, and I don't think I ever will. I don't want to risk losing you. I've always been a coward when it comes to you. And what about now? Izuku asked, taking a brave step forward. You're healing, Katsuki said, stepping back. I've healed, he corrected, stepping forward again. With your help. And I'm rebuilding my life. Now's the perfect time to build you into it the way we want. And what if I break you all over again? He asked shakily. His back bumped into the kitchen counter, and he was out of room to run. Izuku stepped into his space, raising shaky hands to his shoulders. I trust you with my life, Kachan. Why would my heart be any different? He had this look in his ruby eyes that said he was going to fight him on this, that his worries were still weighing down his confidence. Deku. Kachan, he interrupted at his wit's end. I love you. That's all I need to know. Please, shut up and kiss me. His heart stuttered as Katsuki took his face in burning hands, painfully careful. It climbed into his throat as Kachan leaned down, pausing just a breath away, giving Izuku a chance to change his mind, as if Izuku could ever be unsure when it came to Katsuki. He leaned up to close the distance, fingers curling in the fabric of Katsuki's shirt as their lips met. It was soft and unsure, and so much sweeter than he ever thought kissing Kachan would be. He smiled into it as Katsuki nipped at his lower lip, gaining confidence with each passing second. He gasped when his explosive hand ran through his hair, the other falling to grasp at his waist. It was perfect, and Izuku never wanted to stop. He wanted to kiss Kachan in their fancy kitchen until they ran out of oxygen or died of dehydration, completely surrounded by him, by safety, and comfort, and so much careful, intentional love. The kind of love that felt like home, and never tried to change him. He pouted when Katsuki pulled away, winding his arms around his neck so he couldn't get far. Katsuki kissed him again, an unsatisfying peck that he valiantly tried to deepen. What he lacked in depth, he made up for in quantity, though kissing him again and again as though he couldn't stop himself, now that he'd started. It made his head spin, and his heart race, and he didn't know how he'd lived without Katsuki's reverent kisses to ignite him. He wondered if it was always meant to feel like this. Katsuki pulled away again, clutching Izuku's waist like a lifeline. "I love you," he breathed, as though it was a relief to say. A smile pulled at his kiss-swollen lips so wide that it hurt. His heart fluttered at the quiet awe on Katsuki's face, warmed by the knowledge that he'd finally gotten it right. He pressed another kiss to Katsuki's waiting mouth. "I love you, too." All right, listeners, this concludes the fic Fall Apart, Collect the Pieces. I hope you all enjoyed this one. Let me know your thoughts and reactions to the entirety of this fic. And as always, thank you so much for listening.